Holland Taylor, the Emmy-winning star of Mr. Mercedes. It's wonderful to talk to you. Such a fan. Great to have you here, and great to have you on another great television series right now.
It is I think it is a marvelous piece of work. That first season had such a extraordinary integrity to it, and I'm certainly not the star of it. I'm very much a supporting player. That's a mail coming in on my computer. What do I do about that? How can
That's all right.
Oh, should I check out of mail?
Oh, that's okay. I'm sure it's just a little blip. But
anyway, Brendan Gleeson and Harry Treadaway are the stars of it, and it's been a masterclass in acting and a real education for me to work with a master of film acting that Brendan Gleeson does. I know he was a stage actor too, but he is a real master. And I have always felt the stage is my natural habitat, and I've always felt like I don't really know what I'm doing in film and television. And I've really watched him as we've worked together. First of all, he's such a delightful man. He was one of those actors who's just a joy to work with. And I've loved it. I mean, he's so amazing in this show, and I've loved being his support. Harry, I don't have any scenes with. Harry is the villain of the piece, and I have not been involved in any of his villainy.
Well, speaking of Brendan Gleeson, basically all of your scenes are like these great two-handers with the two of you, and it really works there. You guys have such wonderful chemistry together.
We do, and I certainly love being with him. So if that may project in some way.
Yeah, and there's a lot of real heavyweights involved with this show. This is certainly not your first David E. Kelley production.
Yeah,
you, of course, won your Emmy for The Practice.
I won an Emmy for it. It was a magnificent role he wrote for me as Judge Roberta Kittleson on The Practice. I don't mean he wrote it for me. I mean, he had me. I played a small scene for him as that character, where he needed a judge to be a certain way with someone, and I think he liked the feel of the character, and he developed her, and it was kind of groundbreaking for the time, which is 99, I guess, or 2000. She was a very racy, very competent, very good judge, but she was also had a personal life, and she was, of an age. So it was great to play that very lively role on American television. I was very thrilled. So now and this was written in, this was not in the original novels, and I think David added this character of Ida Silver to the Mr. Mercedes story, because I think there's quite a difference between a written mystery novel, or a thriller novel, and a filmed one. And I think that the gritty, extraordinary world, it almost feels like black and white, that Jack Bender created, our executive producer and director of almost all of the episodes, created this amazing world. The art direction is so superb. And it's a very dark, sort of hopeless, flat kind of world. And I think that David felt that his life would need somebody who would be a welcome, caring person, even if just a neighbor he only saw occasionally. He felt that presence was needed, so he invented this character for that, and he asked me to do it, which is what's more flattering than that.
That's great. And I was going to ask about the novels. Because since your character is not created, but Stephen King has this great series of novels, what was your relationship like to the books in terms of creating a character? Did you find you needed to use that?
No, because the character isn't there. I'm really taken my lead very much from, she's there because Brendan's character needs to have someone, and in a very dark world. So I've really just taken it from the point of view of a caring person who is herself independent and kind of feisty and colorful. Certainly in the first season, she was a little provocative with him, and she speaks her mind, and she doesn't care who knows it, and she'll say anything to him. She's not at all. She is her own person, and so I've just followed that guideline throughout. And then Brendan and I just spark, and we do whatever in a scene that might be a very straightforward scene. We just do whatever occurs to us to liven it up a little.
Well, they're certainly lively. You get some great laughs. It's genuinely funny within this dark world. Do you feel like you're missing out on the thriller or creepy aspects?
I'm not a fan. I haven't seen even all of Stephen King's great thing. I've seen the great huge blockbuster ones, of course, because how could you resist? But I'm scared, and I haven't watched all of our episodes. And there's stuff in the first episode that literally I was like, I mean, so, and I actually don't like watching myself in anything. There's a lot of things I've done that I've never seen even a minute of. So, I'm just there. I'm very much related to the acting, and I'm there for the acting, and I'm there for the storyline with the characters, and that's how I mostly relate to it. So I don't think of it as a thriller or as any other genre. I don't think so much in terms of genre.
So does it's sort of interesting because your character then doesn't know all the grisly details of things that are happening in his life. So why do you think Ida reaches out to Bill and makes such an effort with him?
Well, it's established, I mean, tangentially and quickly, that they've been neighbors for years, but not close neighbors, but just polite and cordial in passing. And Ida had been married and to a college professor, and she reaches out to Bill because her husband went into a terrible, swift, depressed decline. And depression is certainly in the news very much lately in a horrible kind of way. Mm-hmm. And he died an early death out of his life just coming to an end after he retired. And Bill Hodges, the detective who is played by Brendan Gleeson, has just retired before this series begins. He has just retired. And he seems to be going to rack and ruin right next door. And Ida sort of picks up on this. And she reaches out to him kind of aggressively. Like, don't go down. Don't disappear. Don't let this beat you. And that's the context in which they start to become friends.
Well, another big heavyweight that you mentioned on this show is Jack Bender, who directed a lot of these scenes. And he always turns out gets such great performances from his actors. What is it like? What does he do to get that from you?
First of all, he's an artist by temperament. And by trade, he's a wonderful painter. He has a couple of books of his paintings that are out. There's also somewhat paintings that have narratives and lots of different styles in collage work. And he's just great. So he's really driven as an artist. He was an actor. I don't know how much he wanted to be an actor, but it was how he began. And so even though he went on to directing, his sensibility is very in tune with an actor. He knows sort of what the process is. He knows what the problems are. So if he sees you struggling, or if he sees you after he said, cut, that's great, let's move on. If he sees that he's done this with me, if I'm sort of looking thoughtful, and he'll say, what is it? And I say, I really didn't like that take. And he'll say, why? And I'll say, I don't know. I just don't feel that I was really fully in it. And he said, let's do another. I mean, he's so gracious and so supportive creatively. And he's so smart. And, he's the overview of everything. The great art direction and all that is on his guidance. Mm-hmm. Really, he's very much responsible for the look of this thing, too. He's a great guy. I really enjoy him very much. I think he directed an episode of Game of Thrones that won 1 million awards. I think it's called The Door.
Oh, yeah, that was a great one.
Wonderful director.
And one thing I love about your character on the show is that she's, like, Hollywood has all these silly rules for women, and it's like once you're, out of an ingenue, it's like so many great actresses get trapped into generic kind of like mother roles or grandmother roles, and
generic about a role that I don't know any women like.
Yeah. But Ida gets to be feisty and flirty and sexy. Do you think?
But also not even necessarily that, but just alive and alive to life and interested in things. I'll tell you, I was talking to an actress friend of mine, Stockard Channing. We're good friends, and I think I'm about a year older than Stockard. And we were talking about exactly this issue. And I was saying, I don't know about you, Stockard, but I have never felt more sort of keenly mentally alive to what's happening in the world today, and having a long view, having a philosophical long take on things, which only age can give you. And I think that to be in this place in life is very, very rich. But I don't think the average, and I dare say male, young television writer has any clue or any interest. I think it's particularly true in America. The older woman is actually invisible, not in other parts of the world, but in America, certainly. So I think that that's reflected somewhat in some of the writing we see on television, or rather, let us say, the paucity of interesting, vital, involved roles. And yet then you see the individual women of great accomplishment, and you go, whoa! I mean, certainly people had those same writers would have enormous respect and, for Madeleine Albright, Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama, people of great substance. They're certainly not going to think this little of them. So it's interesting, this generic take that does prevail, and it does, not in the theater, not in theater writing. Theater writing is really more writing. It's more literature, really, in a sense. And I think, I will never be having any trouble getting roles in the theater that would be interesting at my age. Theater's full of great roles for older women.
Yeah. And one great role that you wrote yourself was for Anne, your one-woman show about Anne Richards.
Yes.
And you were so brilliant in that, got a Tony nomination for all your efforts. Is writing something that you want to continue doing? Do you have the desire to create your own work?
Well, interestingly enough, this didn't happen and did not happen because I wanted to create something for myself to do, although it would be easy for people to think so. But I was in my mid-60s when I created that, when I started working on that. So that would hardly be the time for me to suddenly think, oh, I'll do a one-person show, it would practically kill me. Or, oh, I'll start writing now. It wasn't that way. I was very moved by her death, and I couldn't get over the fact that we lost her so young. And I also realized how important she was to have in our zeitgeist, how important a voice she was. And I was really compelled. It was a mission to write that play and to develop it over a course of several years before it ended up at the Kennedy Center and at Lincoln Center. And I had a wonderful long run with it. And it's actually was filmed, and we reprised it in Texas 2 summers ago at the Zach Theater on our Lincoln Center set. And it was filmed, and it's actually tomorrow. It starts streaming tomorrow night, Flag Day, very appropriate for Anne Richards.
Perfect.
Will start its history streaming on BroadwayHD.com, which is it's like a Netflix for film stage productions, and their library is growing hand over fist, and soon plays will be very commonly filmed and put up on this platform. People can always watch.
Yeah.
Always be able to watch great plays. Popular productions will be filmed, and now ours is going to be released tomorrow night, the evening of Flag Day, for streaming on BroadwayHD.com. So we're blindingly happy about that. So no, but in answer to your question, I always have long answers. I don't have any particular general impulse to write. I do like writing. I rewrote and polished that play over its several iterations, and that was a very compelling and interesting thing to do. But I am an actor, and that's my main thrust. I'm a gun for hire.
And you've over your very long, great career that you've had, you've worked on television quite a bit. Yeah. And you've gone from both standard broadcast networks that have the 22 episode seasons to now Mr. Mercedes has just like a confined, very tight 10 episode story.
Yes.
Is there anything different for you as an actor working on a series in that structure?
So many different ones. I mean, the practice was, I don't know how many episodes I did of that, 40 or 50, or a lot. And that was just like going into a world. And it was a long time because we'd made a lot of them. And it was, 8 or 9 days of shooting per episode. And it was a commute down to Manhattan Beach. So it was a whole time of my life where I was doing the practice. And it was just a big part of my life. Mr. Mercedes is a smaller chunk, and it's shot in Charleston. So I travel more than I act because it's not that big a part. It's very choice to always be with Brendan. But I've traveled much more than I've acted in Mr. Mercedes. So it's the actor's life. I mean, it's a journeyman's life. You do a lot of different things the public is totally unaware of. The one thing about a series is you don't know if you're in a play or a movie, you know what it is. Mm-hmm. Go into it. and a series you don't know what it is when you go into it, because it's a long-term, steadily increasing project, and you don't know what the next episode is going to bring. So that has its risks.
Certainly. Is there, before I let you go here, there's, we just actually received a teaser video they released for Mr. Mercedes season 2 that came out the other day. Is, without spoiling anything, what should we be excited for in season 2?
Be ready to be appalled, for starters. I can't, they'd kill me if I said anything. But it's there's a paranormal development that happens. I mean, Stephen King's really pushing the envelope with this story, as he did in the novel,
right?
In the second novel, and actually, I think this blends elements from the third novel. I mean, they've had to make some concessions to the fact that this is a visual and how they tell the story visually. So it's very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Well, then we'll prepare to be appalled when season 2 returns in August.
Appalled and engrossed. Not appalled like, ah!
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking with me, Holland, and congratulations on your great work in Mercedes.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Thanks.